Welcome back. Before the break, we asked what movie inspired one of Buddy Holly's biggest hits. That'll be the day. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Jailhouse Rock, The Searchers, or Singing in the Rain. The answer is...
The Searchers!
The Searchers! You're right, sir. Our resident film fanboy, Michael Neal, joins us now with a look back at some classic movies and the music behind them.
I had my hand raised.
You did. I picked you.
I was like, I know this one. I know this one.
Pick me.
Exactly.
All right. So The Searchers, 1956.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize, being the day the music died, this is actually kind of course, a reference to Buddy Holly and his biggest hit, That'll Be the Day. And it was actually a catchphrase John Wayne used in The Searchers, which was he said several times, you know, someone would come up and something, he said, that'll be the day, and that'll be it. And so then Buddy Holly and his friends, they were inspired by that, and that's how they ended up coming up with the song.
Yeah, and then how a song comes about.
Exactly.
Of course, a big fame came after they passed away.
Yeah, you know, that's the tragic thing about a lot of artists, is that a lot of the fame is not actually realized until after they pass away, and then you start to mourn the loss of the creativity and what could have come, and so that's kind of what it is. And as we saw in the earlier segment, when they said 3 artists in one plane, it's a big impact, especially at that time in American culture.
In 1978, of course, we had the Buddy Holly story.
Yeah, there was actually for the 3 artists that died, 2 really good movies were made from it. The first one being the Buddy Holly story. You don't even recognize him. Look at that. That's Gary Busey. He had to lose a ton of weight in order to play him. You can recognize him by his teeth.
Yeah.
The only thing you can recognize by his teeth. And the really great thing about that, and a lot of people don't realize, is that he actually learned to play and sang all the songs.
He performed all the songs.
He performed all the songs. He actually got nominated for an Oscar, which was the last great thing that Gary Busey did until Point Break, I think. And so he went on. Now, the interesting thing about the Buddy Holly story is, of course, you know, the movie, it shows the crash. The really interesting thing for me as a journalist was that after he died, the family found out through a neighbor. They heard the radio reports. A neighbor went over, told the mom, and his wife ended up miscarrying like a day later after that. And so it was because of that in Texas, victims, the names of victims are not released until the family is told first.
Yeah, we see some oftentimes in press conferences where, as reporters, we're standing there, we know who the person is, but they're like, we're not going to confirm that.
They're not going to confirm it, and we don't report it. And so I thought that was really interesting, that as a news
that was the moment. Yeah.
So that was very interesting.
All right, 1987. Pa-da-da-da-da-bamba.
So very close. So very close.
Yeah, so very close, but so far away.
Now, see, La Bamba, for me, this is the one that I really enjoyed, because Richie Valens, Lou Diamond Phillips, you know, playing Richie Valens there, he was, I think, 17 or 18 when he died in the crash, and that's when La Bamba came out. That's how old I was when I saw it. So for me, I just really love that film. This one actually focuses not so much on Richie's career as much as, or just tells the 2 stories, Richie's career and the family. And it was supposed to be a big launching point for Lou Diamond Phillips. Didn't quite work out that way. He didn't get the fame that he had hoped would come out of it. But the soundtrack, he did not perform the songs. It was actually performed by Los Lobos.
But the nice thing about this movie is it was one of those movies that showed kind of that struggle of being Hispanic in this country. It's like, you know, you've been here for, you know, centuries, decades, centuries, and that kind of balance in between. And what he did is kind of cross that line where he became popular music for everybody, but it was a song where part of it was in Spanish.
Well, it was a traditional Spanish song. Ironically, he didn't speak Spanish. He had to learn it phonetically in order to play it. And so that's the really interesting thing.
Again, kind of that time period where it was like, no, speak English, speak English, speak English, don't speak Spanish. And culturally, it was that kind of war in the families of do we honor our history and our past? And now, of course, we know today everybody wishes we were bilingual, trilingual, quadrilingual. You know, we knew all the whatever, all the languages we can know. All right.
And then the third one, the Big Bopper. No movie has been made, but it's not for lack of trying. I know the family has been trying for a long time to try and get his story told. You had that beautiful segment earlier telling you, obviously there's a story to be told there, and it really is incredible. But after he passed, about 3 months later, his son was actually born. And then he went on to actually go touring to keep his father's memory alive as the Big Bopper Jr. And he would go around, he would play different venues, he would play with Buddy Holly impersonators, and that's so But then he ended up passing away last August.
Yeah.
And, you know, without actually ever getting that done. So, you know, so it's a little bittersweet there. But, you know.
You're right. There is a Hollywood script waiting.
There's a story waiting to be told there, definitely.
All right. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Now, see, now we got to take this back to The Searchers. The Searchers was considered kind of like the end of the big Western. And now then you kind of fast forward to it's like a renewing of, you know, the fun. It's a different kind of Western. This is the one that actually kind of revived the Western. And, of course, the big hit out of that one is Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, which has a big Houston connection.
Yeah, B.J. Thomas and Steve Tyrell, they were best friends, and they worked on that song together.
Yeah, B.J. Thomas sang it for the they didn't think that the song would actually be that great as a single until it appeared in the movie, and then it just kind of soared.
And that was 1969, and I have to say, I remember singing along with that song.
And it's an earworm. And it's an earworm now. I tell you what, you hear that song, you're singing it all the way through. I always get the words wrong, exactly.
All right, and in 1957, Jailhouse Rock.
Now, this goes back to a lot of our 50s,
Our benefit Betty's out there in our audience. They're like, well, we like that one.
Oh, yeah, we're done with that one. Now, see, the Big Bopper, he actually was kind of a visionary, as we saw before. And one of the things that he actually had a good mind for was actually creating music videos. He had the concept of music videos before they became really popular. So a lot of people look at Jailhouse Rock and think, this is, you know, was probably the first music video. No. The Bopper had the idea first.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and of course, you know the connection between Elvis and Bopper, and so it's amazing how all of these things are kind of connected. You don't see it until. You know.
Yeah, you kind of put them in that grouping. But yeah, that's what I love about movies. It's not only entertaining, but there is historical value to them as well.
Even if there's a lot of inaccuracies in a lot of the movies, they can kind of be forgiven. But you know, there's.
Yeah, like my words when I did La Bamba. That can be forgiven.
All
right.
La Bamba.
La Bamba. Right. Okay. You can catch Mike's weekly movie reviews, a Movie Minute with Mike O on KHOU.com. Coming up next, we're bringing some of that special music straight to you.